the topic of the day, that is UPSC strategy in changing times. It reflects the Babu culture, is inefficient, and quite recently it has also been associated with the poverty of aspiration. But I would like to debunk some of the myths associated with this. I would like to give a few examples of people who have left their lucrative corporate careers, and a lot of you might be inclined towards civil services now, but as you get into the real world, you pursue your masters or you pursue a corporate career, you might find your calling there. So it's okay, and even if you have started your preparation, quitting it is okay. Even I wasn't sure what I really wanted from life. So it's okay. It's okay to be indecisive.
It is okay to be indecisive, but not okay to be uninformed. One thing that all of us are uninformed about is that all of us are working every day without getting paid. The question is, where are we working every day? We are working every day on cyberspace. They know what you are searching for. Zomato, Swiggy, they will keep giving you notification on your mobile phone. What kind of cravings you have every day? At what time? The data we are creating is shaping us.
My message would be to make full and good use of the opportunities provided at your college. Back in my time, I was associated with the MUN society of my college, and that is where I found my calling or interest in diplomacy. I used to think to myself that if a simulated conference gives us so much pleasure to represent our viewpoints, the actual MUN conference would be something else. So yes, make full use of the societies and the opportunities available to you. Before starting with the topic of the day, that is UPSC strategy in changing times, I would like to give a brief intro about bureaucracy as a career. In recent times, and also certain assumptions that have been associated with this avenue since time immemorial, is that it reflects the Babu culture, or it is inefficient, or it just goes on to show that it's a safe harbor because you have a job in hand that is going to be continuous. There is job security. You do not have to compete in a cutthroat environment as in the private sector. And quite recently, it has also been associated with the poverty of aspiration. But I would like to debunk some of the myths associated with this. We need to understand that, first of all, why is there a need for bureaucracy itself? We live in a developing country where 15% of the population is still living below the poverty line. Ours is a mixed economy whereby the private and the public sector coexist. So in order to cater to the needs of those underprivileged sections, the state has to set into action. It has to perform the role of redistributive justice. And that is where the civil servants form the face of the government. They are the steel framework that binds the country together. Before making a choice whether you want to pursue this career or not, you also need to understand the different functions that are performed by the services constituting the bureaucracy. Like, I've opted a foreign service as my first preference. We are a 3 crore strong Indian diaspora abroad. So there are numerous challenges relating to their stay abroad, their employment opportunities. Then it comes to, there are certain cases whereby any of our official may be apprehended on charges of espionage and stuff. Then consular access is required. Besides this, when international relations is a very topsy-turvy path, there are highs and lows in bilateral relations every now and then. So in order to manage that, you require Indian Foreign Service officers. So that is what the IFS does. We are also in India a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. So there are bound to be difference of opinions. There are bound to be clashes and conflicts on certain occasions. So in order to maintain the unity and integrity of the country through a partial framework, we have the Indian Police Service, the Indian Administrative Services. So this is, I believe, a brief introduction of what bureaucracy does. I would also, without dissing any sector or any career opportunity, I would like to give a few examples of people who have left their lucrative corporate careers and pivoted towards bureaucracy. Even the rank one this year, he is an IIT Kanpur graduate, and he was associated with a well-known investment bank. Then there are people in top 20 coming from prestigious colleges like the old IIMs that would have given them a lot of lucrative corporate careers, but still they chose to pivot to bureaucracy. So there must be a reason, there must be an incentive or a motivation that drives us towards this. So I believe that maybe you all are too young to understand, and once you step into your corporate career yourself, you might be able to grasp this thing better, that there you are essentially working towards furtherance of your own goals. You are mastering soft skills, people skills, you are building your social capital, you are networking with people in your office, you are marketing your products, dealing with foreign clients. But for me and for a lot of people who have left that space, it doesn't provide that sense of fulfillment. At the end of the day, you don't have that thought in mind that I redressed someone's grievance, I made their life much easier, or I represented my country's stance on a particular issue. So you are detached from that ground reality. So in order to provide yourself a sense of purpose, a meaning to your life, is why people choose to come over to this place. Now, as the times that we're living in are constantly evolving, it's equally important for us to change our mindset with how we approach things. And a similar change is required to, with respect to a strategy towards this exam as well. Okay. Now, most of us who are here, we belong to the Gen Z, and it's a very, I would say, a privileged and a fortunate generation. We have the best of all the worlds. But at the same time, it's very important to strike that balance, in the sense that you are not just aware of your country's rich civilizational past, but you also take pride in that culture. You are rooted to your culture. And since you are born in an age where social media and technology is touching new highs, you are also expected to have innovative and futuristic ideas for your country. So in order to strike that balance between both the things, between being rooted in your culture and having the futuristic solutions for your country, you have to change the way you prepare for your exam. If we compare our generation to our parents' generation, when maybe people belonging to their generation used to prepare for the exam, there used to be a dearth of resources back then. There was a problem in finding out the materials relevant to the exam. Thankfully, we are not facing that issue, but because we have an abundance of information these days, you can easily get all the study materials, you have topper strategies available just a click away. But it has its downsides too. You are confronted with the problem of infodemic. That is, a lot of information is available, so it becomes difficult to make sense of what is right, what is wrong, what is relevant to the exam, what is irrelevant. There's a section of toppers which would suggest that you don't need to read newspapers, or someone might say that you don't have to do the NCRTs first. So everybody has a different solution. So to make sense of how you cope with the exam, it is very important to, swim through that ocean of information and understand. So the first, I would say, the prerequisite to this is reading and understanding the syllabus of UPSC. Like Constitution is the soul to our country, similar role is played by syllabus to this exam, followed by a thorough analysis of previous year questions. So once you're done with both of these, you get an idea of what the commission expects from us, what UPSC expects from us, and in which areas do I have to have information enough to be able to write a this much word answer. Okay, so I think besides, after these two things, I would stress upon mastering the NCERTs first. Like I said, that everybody has a different way of going about the exam, but there are certain basic postulates that remain the same and should remain constant across the toppers, which is first mastering your NCERTs, having a good hold over the basics. You have your Indian Constitution at work, I suppose, in polity, then your R.S. Sharma, Satish Chandra NCERTs of history, the economy NCERTs, the geography, of course. The geography NCERT is something that you will need till your mains. So that is another important thing. And also, a lot of you will be able to relate to this lingo also due to, like I said, you all belong to the Gen Z, that you have to come out of your FOMO, the fear of missing out. Because what happens, a lot of times, suppose we are focused and we are studying a particular material, and our friend is reading something else. Let us say you are referring to one current affairs magazine, but your friend has a different strategy to approach current affairs. And you get into that FOMO that I should be reading this also, or I should be having multiple materials that I don't miss out on anything. So let me tell you, this feeling will remain till the interview stage. You will always have this fear of missing out on certain things. But you have to curate your own strategy. I believe everybody is unique. You can take points from the toppers, even from what I am suggesting, whatever seems relevant to you, doable to you as per your aptitude and pace of learning things. You cherry pick those points and curate your own unique strategy. This is what I did, at least for all the papers. And once you have developed your strategy, have full faith in it. Have full confidence in it, unless you are facing successively low scores in your mock test, because then it suggests that there must be something wrong in the way you're approaching the exam. So unless that happens, have full confidence in yourself and your strategy. Okay, related to this only, the infodemic that I talked about, another pressing issue today is that how quickly we refer to large language models like ChatGPT and stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of you must be making your assignments from GPT itself. So it wasn't there during our times. I wouldn't, in a way, denigrate the utility of the model. Of course, it is useful. But at the same time, you shouldn't get enslaved by technology. You shouldn't allow that to hamper your original thinking and thought process. So what you can do is, while writing an answer, an essay, and even at this stage, while you're preparing your own assignments, first try on your own. Try to have your original thoughts. It could be a culmination of what your teacher has taught you, what the academicians say on internet, or the newspaper or the print media, what it has to say about an issue. Your opinion can be a culmination of all this, but you shouldn't resort to models like GPT in the first instance. So AI can always supplement your creative expression. You shouldn't allow to supplant your creative expression. Okay. Since all of you must be knowing that when we start the journey, everyone envisions to clear it in the first attempt. We have this craze that we'll do it in the first attempt, we'll become the youngest civil servant. But unfortunately, sometimes the journey gets long drawn, not because we might have not worked hard, we might have done everything that was in our capacity, but because it's a relative competition at the end of the day. You are sure about yourself, but you don't know how intelligent, how hardworking, and how right in their strategies your competitors were. So don't lose heart in that. Set a goal for yourself. Like I had planned that maximum I would be giving 3 attempts. Set a goal for yourself. The commission provides us with the opportunity to give 6 attempts, but try to, not exhaust all your attempts consecutively. If you are doing full-time preparation, then maybe after 2 attempts, try to get yourself a job or a master's degree so that you have something to fall back on. Now, as I said, that journey can sometimes be long drawn. So there will be boredom, of course. You have a routine, waking up, reading the newspaper, reading 2 subjects, solving a CSAT, reading your optional paper. So it can get monotonous after a point. And especially in an exam where you are required to be, cut off from your social circle, you have to clamp down on your social presence. You are cocooned up in your homes or in your PGs from wherever you are preparing. So it can get really boring at a certain point. So that you do not fall into the spiral of mental health issues, self-doubt in this journey, you have to give yourself little breaks, refreshments, and little gifts also. I'll share my experience that whenever I used to score good in a mock, or whenever I had completed my monthly or weekly targets, I used to treat myself that I need a day off now. I have to go out with my friends. I have to watch a movie or something. So when you are, setting such little treats for yourself, you have an incentive or a motivation to get done with your targets quickly. Of course, you don't have to compromise on the quality of your study that just because I have to go out, I have to get done with this lecture soon. But these little treats will keep you motivated throughout. Besides this, I would also say that do not entirely cut off from your social circle. I believe everybody has 2 categories of friends. There are friends who add thrill to our life. They are always up for adventure, always up for new events like fests and all. And then there are friends who are, who keep us composed. They are someone we can open our heart out to. They are people we can discuss the mundane things of life with. So, although you should stay in touch with both kinds of friends, but more so with the latter ones. Because your journey, as I said, it's going to be monotonous. So, you need someone to speak your heart out to. In this process, it will also happen that your peers, your classmates, your friends are advancing in their lives because they did a master's, they switched a job, and we tend to compare ourselves with them. So this shouldn't happen, because remind yourself why you started this journey. And when you started this journey, you knew that it's going to be a long one. So remind yourself that you are achieving for something greater. It's a great glory to work for your country, to represent your country. So whenever you fall into that comparison mode that I'm just stuck in my life, stuck in this small room while my friends are switching jobs, earning well, then you have to remind yourself why you started and why after having achieved your goal, the journey will be worth it. The struggle will be worth it. I wouldn't take much of your time. Lastly, I would like to talk about something that is specific to people of your age group. I remember when I was in the final year of my college, even I wasn't sure what I really wanted from life. So it's okay. It's okay to be indecisive. It's okay to be a little lost. You will find your calling. Don't worry. What I did was I took a campus placement, and so I sort of bought myself some time to think about what I really wanted from life. So you can do the same. I'm in no way endorsing my life decisions, but do as per your discretion. But what I mean to suggest is that never, don't, there will be a lot of people, especially relatives, who would say that you should have decided right from the childhood what you want to be. There are a lot of people who ask me, and they are quite surprised that, oh, you didn't have this civil services as your childhood dream, because people from those generations think that you must be sorted from childhood, which is practically not possible. Let's just be honest. So it's okay to take some time and think. And a lot of you might be inclined towards civil services now, but as you get into the real world, you pursue your masters or you pursue a corporate career, you might find your calling there. So it's okay. And even if you have started your preparation, quitting it is okay. So being indecisive is fine. Take your time and always be unapologetic about your decisions. Own up your decisions. This is your life, and the only people you're answerable to at most are your parents. Nobody else. If someone tends to, downplay your choices or question you that ki ab kal to aap bol rahe the ki that you would want to do an MBA and now you're going towards civil services. So there are people who've served in the civil services for 10-15 years. They've quit and become consultants to private sector firms. For a job that millions of people aspire, they quit that job after some years because they found their calling somewhere else. So it's okay, and be unapologetic about your decisions. Own up your decisions with full vigor, and all the very best to all of you. Thank you.
The issue is, as Vardha said, it is completely fine to be indecisive. We may not have made out our decisions as of yet as to what exactly we are going to do in the future due to abundance of opportunities available out there. So it is quite okay to be indecisive about things. And when you said that, I could see so many smiling faces also. Yeah, they were assured कि okay ठीक है, हम गलत नहीं हैं, हम भी सबकी तरह ही हैं. Okay. At the same time, Vardha said that it is completely okay to be lost also. Not just indecisive, but lost as well. But I feel it is not okay to be uninformed. Okay. It is okay to be indecisive, okay to be lost, but not okay to be uninformed. Now, realize the importance of bureaucracy as a machinery. How important it is, not just in the government sector. Bureaucracy runs throughout economy. It does not operate only in the governance, it operates even in the private sector, even in the corporate sector. So any of you who has interest in management or organization studies or bureaucracy or administration must think of pursuing UPSC as a path which can actually help you avail multiple opportunities in life across India, across the world. So coming back to the topic that I'm majorly concerned about is that it is not okay to be uninformed. तो अभी uninformed की बात मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ कि this is the age of, as Vardha also said, infodemic or information overload. In the age of information overload, we may be inundated with information, but we cannot afford to not know about the information. So that is why I said it is not okay to be uninformed. But do you know what are you uninformed of? Certainly. There is one thing which all of us are uninformed. One thing that all of us are uninformed about is that all of us are working every day without getting paid. Were you informed about this? The question is, where are we working every day? We are working every day on cyberspace. Each time you log into Facebook, Twitter, अब तो X बोलते हैं उसको, Facebook, X, Instagram, each time you log into these applications, you are giving out your data. Fine, all of us know about that. उसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. We are giving out their name, age, what we do, where are we from, which college are we from, our residence, our address, location, our friends' details also. Sometimes we are ending up sharing those applications with our friends. In the whole process, we are ending up with giving a lot of data to those companies also. Okay, that is also quite obvious. But then those companies or those corporates, they know what you are searching for, what you have been searching for. And that is why Zomato, Swiggy, they will keep giving you notification on your mobile phone that, hey Bhavya, were you missing Rasgulla? It's available now. So they know what kind of cravings you have every day, at what time. Now this is something that we were not informed of really. अभी आजकल कुछ लोग ये भी कहते हैं कि हम जो बोलते हैं वो भी YouTube सुन लेता है या Facebook को पता चल जाता है कि हम उसकी बात कर रहे हैं. So yeah, exactly. And this belief that someone out there may be listening to us without we being informed about it gets reaffirmed when we see the same thing that we were talking about on Facebook and Instagram, right? Right away when we click on the same page, we start seeing those things on the same pages. So इस चीज़ से हमारी belief और बढ़ जाती है. So इसीलिए I thought that I should talk about this concept of surveillance capitalism. You might have read about capitalism, but before I tell you about this concept of surveillance capitalism, I will not be assuming that you know capitalism. Again, I'm not saying that I'm undermining you guys. What I want to be assured of that is that you know exactly what I'm trying to speak. Okay. So capitalism का मतलब कुछ भी नहीं होता है. पहली बात तो आपके इमोशंस या आपके हाथ की बनाई हुई चीज़ या आपका कोई भी काम जब उसको वैल्यू लग जाती है, यानी उस पर जब प्राइस टैग लग जाता है, the way you offer services, your smile when it gets a price tag in the service sector, the kind of things that you make by your hand when it gets a price tag, commodities, everything when gets a price tag, you can simply assume that we are living in the world of capitalism. So capitalism is nothing but a profit-centric economic system, right? Now what is surveillance capitalism? सर्वेलेंस कैपिटलिज्म का मतलब होता है कि डिजिटल दुनिया का कैपिटलिज्म. अब डिजिटल दुनिया का कैपिटलिज्म का मतलब क्या होता है? ये जितनी भी कंपनीज हैं, एंड आई एम नॉट अगेंस्ट दीज कंपनीज फॉर ऑब्वियस रीजन, इट इज़ जस्ट दैट आई रियली want you guys to be informed about the surveillance every day that takes place. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, इन सब कंपनीज में हम हर रोज़ अपना स्क्रोलिंग करते हैं. And that is actually a work that we are doing for them, because the more we add data to these web pages, the more content we are creating for them, and this content is something that we are unpaid for. This is my sole argument. The whole algorithm of Facebook, the whole database of YouTube, X or Instagram is created only because of you guys, your efforts, the kind of edits that you make on video, फोटोग्राफ में जितनी भी हम फिल्टर्स लगाते हैं, जो भी बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक डालते हैं, हमारा कितने एफर्ट्स लगते हैं उसके अंदर, है ना, लाइक्स के लिए, छोटे छोटे लाइक्स के लिए कितने एफर्ट्स जाते हैं हमारे, बट वी आर नॉट गेटिंग पेड फॉर इट. ये मैं एग्जांपल आपको इसलिए दे रहा हूँ ताकि आपको रिलेट हो सके हमारी लाइफ से, कैसे ये हमारी लाइफ में रोज़ दिखता है. एंड वी गेट सो मच कॉन्शियस हाउ मेनी लाइक्स डिड वी गेट ऑन आवर पिक्चर्स, ऑन आवर वीडियोज़. वी कीप स्क्रोलिंग बैक, we keep looking back just to see कि हमारे स्टेटस का अपडेट क्या है, कितने लोगों ने देख लिया. कोई नहीं देखे या ना देखे, लेकिन वो ज़रूर देख रहे हैं कि हम कितना देख रहे हैं ये सब चीज़ें. They know how we behave on internet, what kind of things we like, what kind of things we dislike, and once they understand your likes and dislikes and the things that you have been searching for, they will package you into a commodity and sell it out to the market, the behavioral futuristic market like retail sector, insurance sector, which requires such data. ये वो दुनिया है सर्विलेंस कैपिटलिज्म की जहाँ पे आप कस्टमर नहीं हो. कस्टमर उन कॉर्पोरेट्स का, दूसरे कॉर्पोरेट्स हैं जिनको वो डेटा चाहिए आपका, Okay, so थोड़ा सा मैं आपको यहाँ पे ब्रीफ कर दे रहा हूँ. We spend most of our lives online. This is something that I've made here. Socializing, learning, working, entertainment, and applying for jobs. We are giving out our personal information, likes, dislikes, search history, post comments, our friends, gender, religion, nationality, location, age, and your device to them. What are different ways our data is collected? Every time we are giving order to Swiggy and Zomato, we are giving out our data. That is quite obvious, right? हम किस टाइम क्या खाते हैं स्विगी जोमेटो को पता है. ओके, ग्रोसरी, क्लोथिंग एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टोर एंड देयर लॉयल्टी प्रोग्राम. आई एम श्योर आप में से कई लोग जो होंगे मे बी लॉयल्टी कार्ड होल्डर ऑफ सम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्टोर और सम क्लोथिंग स्टोर. ऐसा होता है यूजुअली कि हमारे पास एक कार्ड होता है विच हेल्प्स अस टू अवेल डिस्काउंट और some kind of schemes later on. So again we are giving out our data only because they keep asking us about our personal information in the process. Our smart wears, that is watch that we are wearing and the mobile phone that we use every day, knows exactly where we go, how long we walk and what do we photograph. ये सब पता है इनको. Okay, and the applications that we are using every day, especially if I talk about Spotify और कौन सा होता है म्यूज़िक में ऐप, विंक म्यूज़िक होता है एंड यूट्यूब म्यूज़िक भी होता है, यस एप्पल म्यूज़िक भी होता है. सो दीज एप्स नो एग्जैक्टली वट मूड आर वी इन व्हेन वी आर प्लेइंग पर्टिकुलर सॉन्ग्स. इनफैक्ट दे समटाइम्स स्टार्ट टू प्रोसेस which mood is apt for which kind of song or which kind of song is apt for which kind of mood, and they keep suggesting you different songs accordingly because they claim they know you. Okay, anyhow, so we are bleeding data every minute of every day. So what? Because eventually some of us already know about these things. There is nothing so novel about these things, but what happens later on is very important, which is behind the screen, the BTS. The BTS is that all our data is tracked and monitored. Fine. This data that we are giving is actually a free raw material which we produce for them. The companies are fighting against each other for a share of our attention. This creates more data for them. Every time you log into any social media page, they would want to retain or hold your attention for a longer time. That is why they would keep you engaged in different things. हो सकता है वो आपको engage करके रखें through different recommendations that you may watch this video also, it is going viral, or you may check this person's profile also because his profile is quite similar to the kind of profiles you are seemingly interested in. तो आप कहीं ना कहीं से engage तो रहते ही हो फिर applications में, right? और जितनी engagement आपकी बढ़ेगी उतना ही ज़्यादा attention time companies का आपका मिल गया, और कंपनीज के लिए अटेंशन ही रॉ डेटा है. दिस इज़ व्हाट वी कॉल एज अटेंशन इकोनॉमी. आज की डेट में कंपनीज आर मेकिंग प्रॉफिट बाय जनरेटिंग मैक्सिमम अटेंशन फ्रॉम योर साइड. ओके, नाउ दिस डेटा इज सोल्ड टू मार्केट प्लेसेस ऑफ इंश्योरेंस, रिटेल, फाइनेंस एंड ई कॉमर्स. द कंपनीज विल यूज इट फॉर टारगेटेड मार्केटिंग एंड मैनिपुलेशन ऑफ योर बिहेवियर. सो कंपनीज आर टेकिंग आवर डेटा, processing our data and then manipulating our behavior also at the same time, and it is a vicious cycle, I would say. That is something I believed that we may not have been informed of, that how the data we are creating is shaping us eventually, and in what way our behavior is manipulated. Ma'am, if we can go down. फर्स्ट इनफाइनाइट स्क्रोलिंग, समथिंग दैट आई जस्ट टॉक्ड अबाउट. पुश नोटिफिकेशंस, बार बार हमें मोबाइल पे वो बार बार आते रहते हैं ना नोटिफिकेशन, उसको पुश नोटिफिकेशन हम कहते हैं. पर्सनलाइज कंटेंट रिकमेंडेशंस, टारगेटेड एडवर्टीजमेंट्स आर जनरेटेड टू गाइड अवर बिहेवियर, एंड एल्गोरिदम्स feed a certain post repeatedly to make us feel sad, happy, excited, anxious, or to shape our decisions. Eventually we get addicted, end up doom scrolling, and this is what we call as attention economy, and it's hook model. Hook model, that means you're hooked to the whole cycle of online world and spending lot much of your time on different websites or videos, watching and liking the content. Now, Karl Marx, if I remember, once clearly said, what is the raw material of capitalism? What is the means of production in capitalism? Means of production का basic मतलब होता है वो चीज़ें जिससे हमारा ज़रिया चलता है. ओके जैसे ऊबर ड्राइवर जो होता है उसके लिए मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन क्या है? वो गाड़ी. उस गाड़ी के बिना वो अपना दिन गुजार नहीं सकता. ओके उसी तरह किसी भी कॉरपोरेट के लिए मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन होएगा वो फैक्ट्री और वो लेबरर्स. क्योंकि कोई भी इंसान बड़ा बिजनेसमैन नहीं बन सकता विदाउट कॉरपोरेट सेटअप, विदाउट स्किल्ड लेबर और विदाउट super skilled labor that we see today, the digital laborers, the AI generators. Okay, Elon Musk नहीं बन सकता, Elon Musk without having such skill set. तो यानी इस तरह के लोग भी means of production की तरह ही होते हैं. तो अगर पहले के ज़माने में जब कार्ल मार्क्स जिंदा थे, उस ज़माने में जब फैक्ट्री बेस्ड प्रोडक्शन सिस्टम होता था और मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन हम बोलते थे ज़मीन को, फैक्ट्री को और लेबरर्स को, जिसके थ्रू इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट लोग अपना पैसा कमाते थे. तो आज की डेट में व्हाट इज़ द मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन फॉर दीज डिजिटल कैपिटलिस्ट्स? हाउ आर दे जनरेटिंग मनी? कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट इज़ द मीन्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन टू देम? आवर एक्सपीरियंसेस, आवर लाइक्स, आवर डिसलाइक्स, आवर कमेंट्स, everything that we are doing on internet is their means of production. And this is something that we are not aware of. And that is why I said in the first place, there is something we are not paid for. Okay. And you may see a movement in the coming times where you may see how all of us are paid, not just YouTube content creators or Instagram content creators, but all of us may get paid eventually. But ये एक बड़ा फ्यूचरिस्टिक बात है जो अभी के लिए शायद मैंने कही है. शायद कल को ऐसा हो और ये पोस्ट फिर चल पड़े उस टाइम कि ऐसा कुछ था कभी, हाँ ये बात भी चल रही थी. इट मे बी पॉसिबल, बट एनी हाउ सल्यूशंस इवेंचुअली यही हैं कि हमें पहले एजुकेशन होनी चाहिए कि येस ऐसा होता है. वी शुड बी एक्चुअली नोइंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स एंड देन सम रेगुलेशन शुड बी देयर. And eventually there has to be some resistance also. Like TikTok ban एक movement चला था, delete Facebook एक movement चला था, and we should also have some resistance through blocking third party cookies और ad blockers. बहुत सारी चीज़ें. But I feel major जो idea था जो मुझे convey करना था वो मैंने convey कर दिया. बाकी details की अभी हमें ज़रूरत नहीं है. We can always talk about those things any day. So with this I would simply conclude, and I wish you all the best. All those who are going to prepare for civil services, they should always know one thing जो वर्धा ने भी बोला है बीच में, interest is fine, passion is fine, knowing what you are going to do is super fine, but street smartness is must to crack this examination. The way we study in college, right Vardha? स्पेशली ह्यूमैनिटीज़ कॉलेज में अगर मैं बात करूँ, द वे वी स्टडी एट दिल्ली स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स, एट मिरांडा, एट हिंदू, एट स्टीफन्स इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प अस क्लियर एग्जामिनेशन. ये मैं आपको सीधा बता दूँ. academic interest in university is not going to help us clear civil services. What is going to help us clear? Street smartness. वो कैसे आती है? And I feel वर्धा बिल्कुल मानेगी और अग्री भी करेगी. Previous year question से You will be surprised to know कि कई लोगों ने अपना content जो मैं अपनी क्लास में recommend करता हूँ स्टूडेंट्स को सिर्फ और सिर्फ PYQs देख के बनाया है. That means just by looking at one question and 4 options, people have actually made content of 3 pages in their notes, because each option serves or may serve as a question in the coming year, and that has happened in the previous years, and that has actually been a pattern. It is just that we need to figure out what pattern is, and PYQ is actually going to enable you to track the pattern and work on it. कि एक बार सिलेबस देखने से पहले PYQ ज़रूर देख लेना, सिर्फ 1 साल के नहीं, 10 years के. ताकि अगर आपको कुछ ना भी समझ आए तो कम से कम कुछ वर्ड्स से फेमिलियर आप हो जाओ, जो आपको समझ आ जाए कि ये कितनी बार आते हैं और ये कहाँ मिलते हैं, ताकि यू स्ट्रेट अवे स्टार्ट विद वेरी टारगेटेड प्रिपरेशन, यू नो, स्पेशली वेर आई नो अटेंशन की कमी है आज की डेट में, जेनजी में। अटेंशन इकॉनमी की मैं बात भी कर रहा था अभी, कंपनीज भी उसे अटेंशन के लिए फाइट कर रही हैं। तो इसलिए विद दिस आई विल सिंपली रैप इट अप एंड we'll have some other session some other day, then we can talk about it. Thank you.
Now I'm going to speak about your further mental well-being. Okay, so before I start, I'm just going to ask some of the questions. Okay, so how many of you have heard about Chyawanprash? Okay, and why do we eat it? Immunity, right? And how many of you have taken any kind of medication at some point of time? Yes, right? And why do we have medication? Why do we take a pill? To cure the illness, right? And can we say that the one is more important than the other? Can we say Chyawanprash is like the only important aspect for health? No. And can we say only pill is important? No, right? So we keep taking Chyawanprash so that, you know, we don't have to take pills so often in a week, right? So Chyawanprash, as you rightly said, is for our immunity. So I am going to say that mental health or working on our mental health is like Chyawanprash and pill both. Okay, so we have to keep working on our mental toughness or our other aspects of mental well-being every day, so that we are not suffering a lot in the times of crisis. Okay, so we don't wait till that breakup, we don't wait till the failure, we don't wait, you know, till the time we are feeling very unpleasant to start working on our mental health. Okay, so that we are building the stamina to deal with the unpleasant incidences of our lives, and that's why we must keep focusing and working on our mental health. Okay, so now how? Right, you must be wondering, how do we do that? Because we are facing a lot of challenges, but we don't know how to address it, right? So I'm going to say that there are three aspects of our mental well-being, okay, or three components in it. So first one is, let's say, your emotions. Many of you must be feeling anxiety when your exams are there. Right now you must have felt motivated, you must have felt curious, you must have felt happy, sad. All of these are our emotions, right? And there are pleasant and unpleasant, both kinds of emotions. Okay, second aspect is our actions. Okay, when we are studying, what we are studying, whether we are writing, whether we are reading, okay, whether we are playing sports, those all are actions. The third thing is our thoughts. Okay, so when you start studying, you have thoughts of either past, either the future. Okay, some of you might be able to manage being in the present, that's a good thing. But there are our thoughts, which, you know, we keep having thoughts, a lot of thoughts, right? So these three things, first was emotions, second is action, and third is your thoughts. If these three things are in sync, we can say that you are doing fine. Okay, let me give you example. If your action is that you are studying, but your thoughts are either in the past or in the future, okay, are you able to focus on your studies? No, right? So there is imbalance. If the thoughts are not in sync with your action, then there is this imbalance. Okay, maybe let's say you're very, very motivated. Okay, after the speech of Varda ma'am, you know, you must be seeing her videos, you must be seeing a lot of her interviews, and you're very, very motivated. But as soon as you start studying on your own for your goal, you're not able to bring that action of studying. So can we say that again it is in sync? No, right? So for us to be mentally well, or for us to, you know, be performing or be towards our goals, we want to have our emotions, actions and our thoughts in sync. Okay. Now when I'm doing counseling of a lot of aspirants, they say that, ma'am, how do we do that? It seems like a very challenging thing to do. Okay. So what I tell them always is that all these three things are again governed by your values. Okay, so we have different kinds of values, right? We value honesty, we value transparency in our relationships, for example. We value being at the top of the hierarchy for at our maybe workplace. We value, let's say, integrity. Okay, we value hard work. So there can be a lot of values in all the areas of our lives. So personal life, your relationships, your studies, your career, your family relations, we have a lot of values, and all of us have all those values, right? So if we get in touch with our values, we will know how to bring our actions on track. Okay, so let's take example that you are studying. Okay, you have made your goals, you are having all the notes that are required, but some thoughts are triggering, some thoughts are triggering your emotions, you're not able to focus somehow, right? And no matter what, no matter how much you tell yourself that no, I don't want to think about this, those thoughts keep coming, right? So at that moment, if you ask yourself, what do I value? Okay, what do I value right now? What do I value about my studies? And what do I value for my family? Anything, it depends on what you value the strongest, that will guide your actions. Okay, so if the answer is that I really value my time, okay, then it will be easier for you to say that, okay, these triggering thoughts, I don't want to deal with them right now, let me deal with them later. Okay, the emotions which are coming to my mind right now, let me deal with them later. Okay, and you can really set the time to deal with all these things later at the time. So let's say if you have prepared your schedule, you can have some time when you are not redirecting your mind to something. It is your free space. You're allowed to have all the emotions, you're allowed to have all the thoughts, you're allowed to go into the past or into the future. Okay, you're not stopping your mind. Okay, but to that limited time of, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Other time for your any action or for your any kind of plan, you can ask yourself that what do I value? Okay, and then that is how you can redirect your emotions or actions or even thoughts. Okay, any questions till now? No. So I would recommend a book by Russ Harris. It is called as Happiness Trap. It will really help you to understand and practice what I just said in detail. There is also something called as Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. So it tells us how we work on our thoughts. Okay, how we understand what are our irrational thoughts, what are our rational thoughts, how do we change them into the rational thoughts. Okay, all that kind of work is done in Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. Okay, so there is Albert Ellis, who did a lot of experiments on his own life, and then that's how he came up with that theory or therapy, you can call it. And then he has given a lot of interesting exercises for you to follow. Okay, and as I said, it is a everyday exercise or everyday work that you can keep doing, so that when there is any kind of a challenge, any kind of unpleasant experience, you are already having that stamina to deal with it. Okay, so I would just conclude by quoting Margaret Thatcher. Okay, I hope then you will be able to relate everything of today's session to that quote. So she once said, I'll give you some context. So she was the Prime Minister of UK, and she was ill, and the nurse came, and the nurse was asking her that, ma'am, how are you feeling, and all those questions he was asking. So she said that, what about emotions? Emotions will come and go. Okay, we understand that emotions are very, very significant, but she said that they will come and go. Okay, they are not going to convert my actions into something. So she said that don't ask me what I'm feeling, ask me what I'm thinking. Okay, and then she mentioned what I'm just going to say. So she said that watch your thoughts, for they will become your words. Watch your words, for they will become your actions. Watch your actions, for they'll become habits. Watch your habits, for they will forge your character. Watch your character, for it will make your destiny. So in our today's context, watch your values so that they shape your destiny, so they shape your performance of every day. So I will end with this. Thank you, and I wish you all the best. fact, Level Up IIS has this year more than 100 rankers have been associated with Level Up IIS. After the results, we've realized that more than 100 rankers have been associated with one program or the other of Level Up IIS. We are open to all kind of doubts and queries of yours. So you can ask her after the session also. You can ask us after the session कि आपको कुछ भी doubt है in your career also या related to UPSC also. We are open to the doubts. Thank you so much for your attendance. We are very glad to have you today. Thank you.
With this, we come to the conclusion of this enlightening seminar, and I, on behalf of English Debating Society Miranda House, would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speakers whose expertise and insights have been instrumental in shaping the discourse of this seminar. Your contributions have been invaluable, and we are truly grateful for your presence. Thank you so much.